This is the Midweek Pod. This is two homers and a realist. Let's introduce ourselves.
I'm Lucas.
Steve.
Connor.
Jay.
And this is the midweek after the Baylor loss, putting it behind us. This is before the Iowa State victory that is coming this weekend. And we're going to start it off by talking about something we were talking about off pod. What is it with the stickers in the Big Ten, especially with Ohio State?
Who does it besides Ohio State?
Michigan does it.
Michigan does it. Does Michigan State do it? One or the other. Iowa, somebody does it. Anyway, what are they getting those for?
Why not have the stickers? What's wrong with the stickers?
They're totally stupid.
Lame.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. I mean,
they junk up the helmet.
Yep.
Those are classic uniforms,
Yes.
and they junk up the helmet. And it's unclear what they're for. Like, when you've got a guy who's got 57 stickers on his helmet, what could he have done that was that great?
well, maybe internally it means a lot more. Maybe we need more players that wish they could earn stickers.
Oh, we said, well,
On our
we
team.
want to stickers. You did a good job. You go get them.
Hey, it might help the offensive line move somebody off the ball.
Maybe they'd be scratching sniffs and they wouldn't smell like shit.
Maybe. Just saying.
Well, that's an idea. That's definitely an idea. Well, we've got a lot to cover here in the midweek pod. We've got some listener questions, but first let's start it off with the question of the week. Sort of going on 2 weeks, and that is, who's going to be our new coach now that Lincoln Riley's definitely going to LSU? Since that's obviously the talk of the town.
There's no other way to put it. Lincoln's gone.
He's gone. He's gone.
I filled out my resume.
How do you spell gone in Cajun? G-E-A-U-X-N-E.
It's just LSU.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously Bob Stoops.
G-O-N.
Bob Stoops
ready
is
to come back.
our new coach.
He wants to coach his son. Yeah.
I think it's going to be Benny Owen. I think we're
No-brainer.
going back through the cycle. And to me, it's so ridiculous. The thing I've told you guys and the thing I've told others, if Lincoln Riley takes that job, I will help him pack. And people might misinterpret that like I'm saying I hope he goes. No, if he's so stupid that he's going to go to LSU out of this environment, then he needs to go. We don't want someone that stupid associated with our program.
Worst administration, overall worst program historically.
Yes, definitely.
It doesn't make any sense.
We're
going to the same league.
A very difficult league, but you're coming in as an underdog versus where we are.
If we weren't going to the SEC, you could maybe see the
Completely
idea
agree with that.
of being in the SEC.
If we were
But
in
we
a
are
floundering,
already going there.
floundering Big 12,
Big 12 league.
yeah, and there were with no promise
Right.
of future endeavors, then I
Right.
could see him leaving.
But he'd have to think that he's starting several years behind where he is at OU.
Maybe
You
not
would
with
think.
portal.
Oh, how many players
Michigan
are you
State
going to
brought
get
like
through the portals?
22 players in from the portal all of a sudden. Now they're top 5 football team.
For now.
Yeah, but you know what
wait
I'm
for
saying.
this weekend and then get hammered by Ohio
I mean,
State.
Who knows how
in
many people
basketball-
you get to come to LSU?
In basketball, you can do it with two guys, but in college football, I mean, it takes so many more.
I would
to
guess
make a
he'd be.
difference.
I would guess he'd be 2 to 3 years away from being a true competitor in that league, much
I don't know,
less
because
nationally.
LSU sucked in 18. And they get in a couple coordinators and a transfer quarterback.
That was lightning in a bottle.
But I think LSU has those kinds of players. They just don't. They don't ever have it. When it comes together, incredible for them. And when they don't, they go downhill.
But think about complexities as well. When Riley gets there, how long? Even I'm not even saying like an off season. Like you're talking about years to be able to implement a style of play that he's implemented here over the past 6 years, I guess.
And what
And
coaches is he gonna bring in?
even now we're saying we talk about every week. God, it's too complicated. Like even our guys can't learn it at this point.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not saying that the guy's not an amazing coach. I saw something today, as one of the guys on Barstool was saying, why are we still considering Lincoln Riley a top tier head coach? Like the dude is a top tier head coach. Like you don't do what he's done. You don't develop what you've developed if you're not a top tier.
And recruit the way he's recruited.
Exactly. So I mean, I think we can all throw that out the window, but. All this stuff, like Steve said, if he wants to take this job, you know what? Make that stupid mistake. Take the money, because that's all it's going to be about at the end of the day.
Yeah.
There's nothing else. You're not going because LSU.
It may be short-term money too.
Yeah.
If you look at it, so you're going to take the risk that it works out over the long haul there versus more sure money here. Even if you assume we're going to pay less, which is not granted, we might very well be paying more than LSU is able to pay.
Yeah, but everybody knows the best.
We're a
job,
bigger football program.
best job
we're
in
a
the
big
world is being a fired head coach.
right.
And you want to,
we're a bigger athletic program than LSU is right now. Our budget is bigger than theirs.
do
right
you
now.
want to go somewhere that they just fired a coach that won a national championship a
right,
year and a half
exactly.
ago?
All college
They did-
football fans are fickle,
they-
and you're
yep.
loved in Norman.
They did the same thing with Les Miles. I mean, what did he last 2 or 3 seasons after he won a national championship?
And they didn't like him. I
Yeah.
remember being down in Florida talking to LSU fans the year after they had won. I mean, the summer after they had won the national title, and they were telling me how much they wanted Les Miles gone.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, those folks in particular want something out of their coaches. It's hard to give them. I mean, if you win a national title in Oklahoma, you can just basically write your own ticket for several years.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
promised you wouldn't bitch for 10
10
years.
years. Yep.
So
God, please, Lincoln.
if there's any way. Well, I don't think there's any way that's going to happen. I think the natural choice is Aranda. I don't understand why it would be unless there's something.
Well, he can
behind
see the same
scenes.
thing you just talked about. He can see his former boss getting run out of town.
Oh, sure.
Like,
No.
I don't know
I
if
was
I'm gonna go
saying
back
who
to
would
that.
be a target.
What
I'm
if
not
what if
saying
they
if
went?
he would
What
want.
No,
if
I'm
they
saying,
went?
yeah,
out-
that's the
what if
same.
they went on the other side? What if they went back to Joe Brady, who's currently OCing in the NFL? Would you take a college head coaching job if you're doing that?
It's something you'd have to think about. It depends on your
I
situation.
mean,
probably.
what is he, like 32 or something like that? He's
Because at that
super
point,
young.
if you're OCing in the NFL and you're not really, in which I mean, I guess
I mean,
some, of
it's
those,
a
It's his second year.
some of those guys are up and some of those guys have made their. I mean, you have to look at the young coach in the NFL, but I mean, if you're an OC in the NFL and you have a chance to be a head coach somewhere, you probably do look at the money first and say, I can go run a program and I have the experience doing so. And I've been experienced at this school, so
Well, you know
I
they've
don't know.
thought about it. I mean, there's no question LSU's going down that road.
yeah.
Make him say no. Some people are just NFL guys. Some don't want to do the whole college recruiting. The worrying
The
about
work.
kids
Yeah,
doing
the
their
work.
schoolwork and who went out partying and
Yeah, I've always made that point that there are just two distinct type of jobs there that are very different, and they have different skill sets. So that's always been my argument against Lincoln Riley going to the NFL. And we don't know this to be a fact, but one of the things that sets him apart in college is his ability to recruit, which is a zero skill in the NFL. It does not matter, or to the littlest degree ever does that matter. So if that is one of the things that distinguishes him as being a great coach, it doesn't help at all in the NFL. And vice versa, you could have a lot of guys who aren't good at recruiting, don't want to recruit. Arguably, Bob Stoops might have been better suited for the NFL in the
I
last
was
10
thinking
years
the
of his
same thing.
career.
It can help you get free agents if you've got the personality that people want to come play
Yeah,
for
but
you.
most of that's the GM signing checks and saying let's get this together.
happen.
So it could help, but it's not the same, obviously.
Yeah.
And you're talking to 22-year-olds, 23, 24-year-olds versus and even older maybe compared to 17-year-old kids.
well, you're wooing their parents too.
and the
right?
parents,
Yeah.
right? So I don't know. Enough about LSU. Screw LSU. We don't like them. This is not an LSU podcast.
Speaking of which, we went with a Cajun name for trivia night tonight.
Well, how are we doing trivia? I wasn't. Let me see.
I think we
First
We
place
dominated.
wins 100, and I think
Did
they
you-
handed us 100.
They handed us $100. They
Yeah.
took our picture
It
with
makes
$100.
sense. It makes sense.
That's right. We won $100. Way to go, boys. That's right. We were number one in the entire restaurant. There was a restaurant full of people. It's a big
Packed.
restaurant.
Yep.
It's a really large restaurant,
It was
and
packed.
there's a lot of tables in that restaurant. There's a lot of chairs around that bar.
That's a lot of shares.
And we were number one. We
Yep.
got $100. And you can check Twitter if you don't believe us.
Yeah, it's all over Twitter.
Yeah.
It is blowing up. Actually.
It's pretty good. I'm going to put that money to work tomorrow and turn that into 90. So that was pretty awesome. And we won it with our name, which was Don't Go Lincoln.
Yep,
So-
spelled Geaux.
That's right.
Yep.
Because we don't want him to become a tiger.
go with Lincoln. Go Tigers.
So let's get to some listener questions. You ready for some listener questions? What do you got?
I think so. Yeah. No, this one comes from a very, very loyal follower.
Long-time listener.
Long time
first-time
listener.
questioner.
He's actually been not a part, but he's actually
Dr. R, right?
Dr. R. He's been a live audience member of our pod before. First question. So we're going to shift gears a little bit to the defensive side of the ball.
Okay.
Will Alex Grinch be the defensive coordinator at OU come Christmas time or going into our bowl game?
That's a good question.
Are we gonna make a bowl game? Oh yeah, I guess we were 9-1.
We will make a bowl game.
Yeah.
There's a team a few hours south of us that is fighting to make a bowl game.
That is true.
Do you think they will? I don't think they
Yeah,
will.
so it might be a little tough for Texas.
So really,
State.
the question is
Is
he
Grinch going to
get
be
a
a head
job?
coach? Is
Right.
Grinch going
Is he
to be a
gonna
head
get a
coach
job?
by the time we win the Big 12 championship?
Because we're not going to fire him.
There are a ton of big time program jobs that are open, which will be taken by people with lesser programs that will open for guys like Grinch.
So you're thinking
He won't get a USC.
he's not going to get the
He
USC
won't-
job, but he may get the job of the guy who got the
He'll
job.
be
who
the
got
trickle
job.
down. He'll
Yeah.
be the trickle
But
down.
this
guy.
was the deadline on this question was Christmas.
Well, they're starting now though. Coaching
Yeah.
changes are starting
There's
soon.
already 10
'Cause they-
job openings right now.
Yeah, I
So
know,
as
but
soon
want
as
that-
those start filling,
To go through that entire sequence.
Yeah.
You've got that's going to take several weeks to get down to a Grinch level opening, I would think. So I would think there's a really good chance he's already coached
I don't know.
by
I
Christmas.
don't think Baylor would be a crazy place for Grinch to go.
I mean, he interviewed at Tech, right?
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah,
I mean, that
That's
level.
one
of
job.
job.
That level of a job.
That's one
What?
job.
So
Good
remind
job.
me, he
What about
interviewed someone.
Cincinnati? He's a northern guy. I mean, if Luke Fickle takes a job, he can be up for Cincinnati.
All right, so
They have very much made Luke Fickle a hero up there. Those are big shoes to fill. I could see Cincinnati trying to go after someone pretty big
wanting to take the next
to
step.
say like, oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, they are
Like,
moving into the Big 12.
That's
So,
true. They're
yeah.
going big time.
So who remind me? Grinch interviewed for someone last year too. Did he not? I feel like
No, they
there was a
thought he
smaller
was gonna-
school.
They thought he was going to
Interview.
interview. Yeah, but he
It was
For-
like San Diego State or somebody, wasn't it?
no.
No, I thought
thought
it was
a
back up
West
there in the
Coast team.
Northwest.
Yeah, it was. Was it Washington
It
State?
might have been Washington State.
I think it was Washington State. I don't know. We don't think he actually interviewed with it. I mean, so I would answer the question. He will be Oklahoma's defensive coordinator at Christmas. I think he'll be Oklahoma's defensive coordinator next Christmas. But I think that there is greater risk after Christmas into January when the last of the head coaching jobs cycle through that he could maybe go somewhere else.
And not that people, especially hiring, folks look at this, but Grinch up to this point has kind of not lived up to his brand.
I would agree. I was
You know what I
just
say?
about to say
He
that.
did
And then he
until we
didn't.
started playing football this year.
Right.
So I think that's probably the most frustrating part is you get all this, and I know we've talked about it on multiple levels, but you get a bunch of the hype, you get a bunch of the, this is what we're about now, this is what we do, and we've seen it in spurts. We've seen, my favorite example is the Oklahoma State game last year at home, where we looked like
Just dominant.
no one on the planet could move the ball against us, no matter what, no matter who you were. I mean, golly, you throw that defense out there from that night against that Alabama team and won the national championship. I don't know if we win the game, but at the same time, I think it's probably closer than what it was that night in January
It's
when we actually played
competitive.
for it.
It's competitive.
So I don't know. I agree with Steve. I think he's our DC going into bowl season, especially Christmas.
Honestly, I would say that if the offense would have performed at Baylor the way they should have, you might be saying that about him right now.
I think so too.
In terms of a lockdown defense. Defense played really well against Baylor. It's tough to hold people for fourth quarters when your offense isn't allowing you to make them the right kind of one-dimensional.
Yep, and you're on the
They
field.
became the
a lot.
wrong kind of one-dimensional against us, and just the dam broke. The other thing about Grinch is, in a head coaching matchup, like any matching game, both sides have to come to agreement. And he may not necessarily be the fit for a lot of people that we would naturally think he is. When there's an endowment effect, when you've got a coach, you think, oh, we want this coach, we love this coach, this is our coach. Other people may not look at him that way. And there are a lot of great coaches out there. So it isn't the case that he's necessarily that hot of a commodity. And then when you look at the positions that he might be actually eligible for, those might be jobs he says, I don't really want to make that kind of move. I don't want to be the Seth Luttrell that's going to get fired I hear that he might get fired at North Texas. He hasn't been
He almost
fired.
got fired last year, so
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like
So
he's
you
done
don't
anything.
want to go to a job that sort of you can just be a black hole and not necessarily get
There
out
are
of.
jobs out there that are just always going to be a job.
Yeah.
There's
If you want to be a head coach, here,
Yeah.
it's ready
Exactly.
for you whenever
You
you're
can have
ready.
it.
Tulsa
That
is
is
being
who-
used a lot
yeah.
as a stepping
Yeah.
stone
That's
job.
who it was. Is I think Grinch was thinking about North Texas last year when the Luttrell rumors were.
That's right. That's right.
Luttrell was apparently going to get fired. That they were thinking about Grinch is what it was.
And my argument there would be, are you sure? Are you sure that's the next step in your career? Do you want to be a head coach that badly? Because that can be an easy dead end that you never get out of, just because of circumstances, just because you're North Texas or Tulsa or wherever you are.
Fuente went from Memphis to Virginia Tech and then didn't work out. So now where does he start over?
Yeah, he's going to be a guy that could definitely start over at a place like that or
Memphis
anywhere.
or Tulsa. Or
so there's
someplace
another
like
guy
that.
like if you're in North Texas or whoever, and you're looking and you're an athletic director, you're saying, well, here's Grinch and his accolades, and then here's a guy who actually has a proven track record at head coach. I can see a little bit clearer what I'm getting if I go after him.
Kansas did that with the Buffalo coach this year.
Yeah, and that's interesting. So let's. Do you have another listener question?
He had another one, but we can table it.
Let's transition into coaches in the Big 12 because that's really interesting. I think there are some pretty good coaches in the Big 12, and I don't know how many of them are actually in Oklahoma. Just kidding, Lincoln.
Please stay.
But if you look at Kansas, I think that coach is pretty good. You guys correct me if you think differently. I think Kansas State's coach is extremely good. I think Baylor's coach is extremely good. I think Iowa State's coach is pretty darn good. He may be a little overrated, actually, but I still think he's pretty good.
He's a psycho.
And so we don't know what's going to happen with TCU or Texas Tech and those new coaches. And you got OU and OSU. Obviously, I think Lincoln Riley's a very good coach. I think Gundy is actually, in my opinion, a great fit for Oklahoma State. I think he is. I think we see what Gundy's going to be. I think he's plateaued. It doesn't matter where he'd go. He couldn't be any better than he actually is. But he's still the best coach in the history of Oklahoma State for what that means. What do you guys think about those other four coaches? Do you hold them in as high esteem as I do?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Matt Campbell going into this season, they were ranked in the top 10.
Yeah.
Everybody thought this was going to
And
be
he's been competitive
the breakout
for
year.
multiple
Yeah.
years.
He's had a down year. But leading up to this year, he's been a really good coach for that program specifically.
Tough place to win, too.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Ames isn't the most pleasant of places, so you got to commend what he's done up to this point. He's having a down year. Don't know what was crazy is how many returners they had. You would have thought, just based on how they played the last 2 or 3 seasons, with as many players they had coming back, that they would be better.
Yeah.
But who knows why that is? I guess we'll see this weekend.
Yeah, we might.
We're in the same boat with that. I mean, both of us had high preseason expectations because of who we had coming back, and both teams haven't lived up to.
Yeah, I think
Expectations.
you said something the other day when we were driving back from Baylor, Steve, and around. It's so crazy to see some of these teams and what they do on a one-off year basis and are completely incapable of putting and stringing multiple years together where they compete. And outside of the obvious, outside of Oklahoma. And it's so funny that we can sit here and Jay, like you just said, and be like, man, this is a down year for us and we're struggling.
At 9-1.
And we are
all our goals potentially still in front of us.
Yeah, and I completely agree. Like, this feels like a very, like, man, this valley that we're in right now feels like a pretty low valley. And then when you kind of look up and you say, it's like, man, we all texted to each other Sunday night. It could be so much, or Saturday night, it could be so much worse. I watched Texas lose that game, and I cannot even remotely express the emotions that I would I can't imagine what it felt like to be in that stadium
That was
as
like
a Texas fan.
John Blake level of misery.
Like, throw me
After
over the edge
all
of
of
the top
these
of the
years of just, their ups and downs, their up years in the last decade have been barely touching our down years, honestly.
And a loss like that is a scar on the program for the next couple of years at least.
Well, and
From
the first
multiple
time
levels.
since the 50s they've lost 4 games in a row.
When was
mean,
the last time they didn't make a bowl game?
I mean, we've still been laughing about them losing at Kansas like 5 years ago.
Right.
And here it is. Now you've lost at home to Kansas.
Well, if we remember right, they barely escaped Kansas 2 years ago.
That's right.
They had to win in overtime against Kansas.
And if you'll remember way back in the Mangino years, they probably shouldn't have escaped Kansas.
Exactly.
Yeah, BCS, dollar signs.
Dollar signs. So anyway, I think that there's some outside of Texas. It's hard to say. I don't think Sarkisian is a very good coach. I was excited when he got hired, thinking that that's not going to be the answer.
I think
But some of these other
he's a
guys,
coordinator.
I'm glad they don't have Aranda. I'm glad they don't have what's his name, Kleiman.
Kleiman, yeah.
I'm glad these
Oh,
other
yeah,
coaches aren't at Texas.
At the long, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, my
There's
gosh.
no question.
And
You know
what's
where
great
Kleiman-
is they're not going to ever hire that guy
No, they're
because
too-
they're too arrogant.
Yeah, they're
they're
way
too
too arrogant
prideful.
to hire a Kansas State.
And honestly,
football
we
coach
probably
that would-
are too.
That would make
Yeah.
them 3 times as tough and disciplined.
Right.
Well,
as
you know
they've
who
been.
where Kleiman fits and who may kick themselves for not doing it is Oklahoma State. Kleiman
Yeah,
at Oklahoma
that's
State
true.
would be a force.
Yeah.
You're getting to recruit in Texas.
Yeah.
You have a much more in tune recruiting mechanism that you've implemented at North Dakota State. Then it's newer than what Gundy's running at Oklahoma State. I think you're a more enthusiastic head coach. I could have seen that being an amazing fit for OSU, and I think
It's pretty similar at
Yeah.
Kansas State. It's
Yeah.
not too; those two programs aren't too different. But I agree. I feel like Oklahoma State's a little bit better place to be. That he'd win
I would think so.
a marginal game or two a year better, or have a better chance. So, yeah, I think you're right.
They love him up there, though.
And
they
definitely
love him. They love him up in Manhattan.
their future would be better than a guy who is at the end of his career and nearing the end of his career in Gundy. I mean, Gundy might coach another 10 years.
Oh God, he's
if they
earning
let him.
himself. He's earning
But,
himself a life contract this year. I'm
Yeah, it
telling you
depends on what happens. I mean, so what other thoughts on those coaches? I got a question for you. Was it to this group that I made a claim that I don't know if I can live up to? That if the Cowboys
Yeah.
run the table,
Almost threw
that
up
I
when
would
I
root
saw
for
that.
them. You know, I remember back in 2011 how much I delighted in them losing to Iowa State. But honestly, if I had to do over again, if I could only change one game and it couldn't be an OU game, I would, in that year, I would change them losing to Iowa State and playing, would it have been LSU or Alabama? Which one was ahead?
I think it was.
Is that the one that left them for the rematch, right?
think it was
the
Alabama.
rematch, and it could be Alabama. Either way.
No, it may have been
No, because
LSU.
I think it was
LSU
LSU
beat
Bama.
Alabama regular season.
It would have been
and they
playing
gave Bama
LSU
a chance of rematch.
for the So I would have loved to see Oklahoma State actually claim a real national title
Over
in
Les
that in that
Miles.
game over Les Miles and those Tigers. But I don't know. Ask me again when we get to the game. But hopefully it's not. Hopefully that's not an issue because we've beaten them twice.
I mean, I rooted against Texas against Bama.
USC.
Or no, USC, yeah. Well,
And
against
Bama,
too, yeah.
yeah.
I rooted against them both
I rooted
times.
for them both times.
That's
One
disgusting.
time was by heart. One time was for money.
Hmm.
So the Alabama one was just because that would have won me a lot of money, and the USC one was
You were just
because I
pissed
hated
off at them
USC
from the
so
year
bad,
before.
so bad, yeah. And wouldn't you be? Weren't you? I mean, they were awful. I don't know. I liked, I like Matt Brown, too. I respected him.
Former OU coach.
Former OU coach. That's right.
What I find interesting with coaches for any league is Baylor and Kansas State, are they tough teams because our coaches are tough, or are they tough teams because those are the kinds of players that they can get in? Like with OU or Texas, if you put Kleiman at OU and Aranda at Texas, are all of a sudden are they just smash mouth, hard nosed defenses? Football teams in general.
I would say no. I'd say there's two things to that. One, I don't buy the idea that we're not smash mouth and tough.
Have you watched this
Are you
team
talking
play
about-
this season?
I am.
Our football.
Our
All right,
football
okay.
team.
The Oklahoma Sooners.
Yes. I think that is something. So I think there's something to it, but I don't think it would change. So if you take those guys and put them in Oklahoma, they're going to have to recruit the same guys that Oklahoma's recruiting. Hopefully they can get them. If you ask them, they'd say, I will definitely take Oklahoma's recruiting classes. Mm-hmm. And those guys are going to play differently than a 3-star who his only claim to fame or the ability to win is to be smash mouth in the way you're thinking and to try and be as tough as he can possibly be because he doesn't have the raw talent. If he's not 5-star speed, 5-star abilities, he's got to play tough. So I don't think that coach brings out toughness in what is a 5-star athlete, but But I think it's a charge without merit to say that we're not smash mouth.
Yeah, we're seeing a sample size too. We're seeing these kids look like they're smash mouth because they're taking what we've said their best shot against OU.
us. Yeah,
And
I bet they didn't look like smash mouth when Baylor was getting beat by TCU
or
et
getting
cetera.
beat by Oklahoma State. Like it's a completely. I agree. We're playing down to opponents. We are not stepping on people's throats like we should be. But opponents play up a level against us. And I know we can say, well, whoever doesn't play up to Alabama, like Alabama still finishes
But
his job.
that's not new. It shouldn't be surprising
It's not
to our
surprising.
players.
It
shouldn't be.
It doesn't
You're right.
matter. It still happens.
It's definitely
right?
a knock against us for not being able to do what we need to do
We're
in
talking
those
about
games.
game 10.
But
Like, if you're sitting around Friday night being like, hey, guys, we're going to get Baylor's best shot tomorrow. Like,
But I
yeah,
don't think
no
that's
kidding.
what it is. I think 90% of why we got beat against Baylor was coaching. It wasn't. It was, and I mean strategy. It wasn't lapsadaisical. And 90% might be
I
extreme.
get it. I don't think
maybe
we,
70-30.
I don't think we didn't play with effort or intensity.
No, I don't think we played. Now,
Defensively.
there might have been a lack of effort and intensity in different regards because of not that we're not trying hard or don't want it a lot, but when you've got a freshman quarterback and things aren't clicking and your strategy's not good, it's tough to just run into a brick wall. I mean, that it's not going to look good if you run into a brick wall. It's not going to look like you say, dude, I'm hurt, I'm trying, but I'm doing everything wrong, so it doesn't matter. The other part is I think there's actually something to the flu. I think those players during the week in practice, and maybe a good group of them during the game, the flu was going through the team. I think there was a wave of the flu. Jeremiah Howell on his podcast was all congested and everything, talking about how bad it was. So I think that actually affected us. So I think in that particular game, again, back to sample size, that one game that stands out in our mind because it's the most fresh, we didn't look good. I think a lot of it could have just been lethargy because of the flu. I don't know. Maybe that's excuse making. But I think we're more smash mouth than you're giving us credit for. And I don't think it would matter. If you had Aranda, I don't think it would matter because I think he'd be dealing with the same players doing the same stuff. I don't know. So what's the other listener question that we've got?
do you guys have one?
If it-
Okay, no, I've got another one from Dr. R. So back towards the defensive side, and he was real honed in on this. So let's just play it out. Let's say Grinch does leave. Would Riley ever consider hiring Gary Patterson to try to replace him? And on top of that, would Gary Patterson ever think about taking a DC job at OU?
I would love to be able to hire Patterson as DC. I don't think he would take a coordinator position unless he just kind of wanted to stick it to, other teams in the league or
He kind of seems like that kind
something
of guy,
else.
though.
But I also don't know that he got along very well with Lincoln. So I'm not
Yeah, that's
sure.
what I'd always heard is that he didn't connect with. I think one of you two brought it up actually that he didn't have a good history with Lincoln. Maybe
Yeah, with the whole
Lucas.
Baker
Yeah.
thing was ugly.
That's
and
true.
the Chandler Morris transfer.
That's true. But these guys, I don't know. They could bury hatchets.
I think they barely
Who
shook
knows?
hands at half field a couple
Really?
times. Yeah.
So I don't know. If so, you would expect it wouldn't be long lived.
Right.
I would believe.
Do you think Gary would
it
take?
gives-
You think Gary would take a college DC job at a
At a big time program,
At a big-time
possibly.
program?
Yeah.
at
I think
Alabama?
it'd have to be the
At
right
Alabama,
fit.
maybe.
He'd be in. He'd
If
be
he-
what are those advisor coaches?
If he
and
misses,
he'd wash his car.
box.
if he misses the game of football like
Yeah.
that, and he might just be like, I don't want all the
I just
pressures.
want to be part of it.
Yeah, I just want to be part of a
Or
team.
if you went to work with your
Be
friends.
just a
So if they had
DC.
been friends, I could see the
Yeah, a
case of that
history.
being stronger.
I think he might be the opposite of a Lincoln Riley in terms of Lincoln is probably an elite offensive coordinator and a good to pretty good head coach. And I think Gary Patterson, if you just let him work on your defense day in, day out and scheme and not be a head coach of a team as well, I think he would put out a phenomenal defense.
So you mean he's the same as Lincoln?
Yeah, but I mean just opposite sides.
Opposite sides of the ball, but the same.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't know when you look to what you're trying to build in the program. if you got a short timer, you got to have a transition plan there. Otherwise, it's difficult to recruit, and it's difficult to think about what the next coach is going to be that you're trying to groom for that job, or that you might miss an opportunity of the guy today you can get who's going to be with you for 10 years or 5 years or something. It'd be a tricky situation, but it's an interesting thing to contemplate.
Plus, he's used to recruiting a different level of athlete too.
That's true.
He hasn't been a lot of 5-star homes, I wouldn't imagine, and
That's a good
maybe
point.
even a lot of 4 stars.
To know how to
He's
make
beat
that
us on
sell.
a couple. They beat us on a wide receiver 5 or 6 years ago. That was really good. I can't remember who it was.
He recruits fast.
Jalen Rager.
Jalen
he loves
Rager.
speed.
That's-
Track star.
That's who I was
Speed.
thinking of. Yeah.
That's a
They
good
haven't,
point.
They haven't
That's a
beaten
good
us
point.
since 14.
And that, to circle back to something you were saying about those coaches, Jay, and it's something, a point Lucas has made before a lot, is, I think all of us have said it, is that those 3-star and 4-star guys that get overlooked sometimes can be your best fit. They can be your best athlete if they're the right fit for your program in that position you're trying to recruit to, and if they have the will and the desire. Another thing you could look at, I hate to like pick on one example and one anecdote, especially one kid, but like Spencer Rattler, as a 5-star at a small program in Arizona, are you better off taking a 3-star out of the biggest programs in the biggest states? A 3-star in California and Texas, or even one of the biggest programs in Oklahoma, is that a better athlete than, potentially on average, than a 5-star that's playing at a low level in a not very competitive league? It's
Yeah,
hard-
you'd
it's hard to
really have
evaluate.
to. Yeah, you'd really have to like trust your evaluation,
Right.
like a lot. Like I think that's something I've liked with Lincoln, like these camps that he's put on, which I'm sure Bob and stuff did that. But like,
Yeah.
he's specializing in like that is what he does at these camps. Is Malachi Nelson this guy that I think he is because he's putting numbers up on paper and against these smaller schools, or is he is he the real deal? So no, that's a great point. Like that's a great way to look at it with some of these guys. Like where are these stars coming from? What are they rooted in?
But also, again, I mean, Rattler goes out and wins MVP of the Elite 11. Now, they're mostly just throwing on air and 7-on-7 type drills, which we all agree he would still probably be fantastic today in 7-on-7 because they don't replicate any actual pressure from defensive
He's not going to
players.
get hit.
Right. So it's hard to say, but I mean, he tore that up too.
Will
The
he be the-
evaluation would be tough.
So when looking into the pro leagues, will he be the best arena football player ever? I mean,
He could. He
No.
could be.
I think he's
He
got.
might be one of the best combine throwers that anyone's ever seen.
He he's got a lot of raw talent. He may surprise us a lot in how far he goes in the NFL. He's got a lot of growing to do, but he's got a lot of raw talent to work with, and more than raw talent, he definitely did very well at moments this season, and definitely last season he looked very, very sharp. So let's give the guy more credit than we're probably wanting to do, just because of what we've seen.
Yeah.
Let's transition to looking forward to this weekend in Iowa State. So Oklahoma is a
4-point.
4-point favorite. 4-point favorite, which is where we basically ended up against Baylor, and that didn't work out. But that's all different now. Are we ready to make some predictions? Are we ready to throw our predictions out there, or do we want to wait?
I'm ready.
I
I'm not
need to-
ready for an 11 o'clock game again. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, what is it? It's one more, just one more, 11
Yep.
o'clock. Actually, it's going to be two
Hopefully
more.
there's two more.
Hopefully 2 more. That's right.
Big 12 championship.
Yeah. Let's hope.
Yeah.
No, it's so frustrating as a fan. Yeah, that's what I pitch.
It's really too bad they don't go to Kansas City anymore. I think Jerry
Yeah.
World's overrated. I don't know why
Arrowhead
they
would be
play
fun.
so
It
many
would just be
games
dang cold.
in a row there.
Arrowhead's a lot of fun.
Yep.
It is just, it's cold, man.
You get a more
It's
pure. You
cold.
get a more pure game at Jerry World, honestly.
Yeah, you get a more bowl-like championship level game. It's not something in the cold and the elements, but I don't know. Maybe is that to OU? Let's think of OU as the better team, as the favorite, as they almost. Oh, have we? I think we've been the favorite every time we've played in this string of victories, and really since they brought the game back. So I wonder if it would work to OU's advantage actually to be in the cold because I don't know. I could see it going either way. It depends on the mentality of the team and the mentality of the players. But if I'm a player and I'm in a game where I'm overmatched, if that other team gets the edge on me, boy, my desire to be there starts shrinking fast.
Yep.
And if I'm in the comforts of Jerry world, I feel like anything can happen. I don't know. It seems like those elements start to work against you very quickly if you're the underdog. But maybe it could go the other way too. I don't know. So let's make our predictions. So who wants to start us off? I can start us off. I think I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm ready
Yep,
as well.
Go for it.
All right, Are you ready, Lucas?
Let me
I
type
don't
my- let me
want to
type-
anchor you.
I'm going to type mine out
Sure.
just in case someone calls BS on me, just to make sure.
All right. So everybody's ready.
I'm saying-
Everyone's ready. All right. I've written mine down, so I'm not going first. Jay, what do you got?
I'm going to go 30-27 Iowa State.
Whoa. Wait, you said that wrong. 30-27?
Correct.
Jesus Christ. They fucked you up last week, man.
Man. So,
Wow.
That was bad,
geez,
fellas.
show us on the doll where Baylor
Good
fetched you.
Lord.
There's too many places.
Jeez. Lucas? Give us some realism.
I'm going to go 23-20 Oklahoma.
God.
3 field goals.
You think Burkett can make them?
Burkett is coming back. And Iowa State will stop us in the red zone multiple times.
All right.
Okay. Connor, what do you got?
38-28 to the good guys.
I have more similar to you, 35-17. What's
That's great.
laughable
It would be
about
great.
that? What's
Yeah,
laughable
that
What do you
about
mean?
that?
What's not laughable about it?
You
So,
guys just told us
last
that
week-
their whole team is banged up walking over here anyways.
Yeah.
I didn't
Doesn't
say
matter.
that.
Just
So-
their defense is banged up, and they probably come out and played great because they just allowed a bunch of yards last week and lost on a 62-yard field goal.
So we basically only gave up 24 points to Baylor. And that was because our offense couldn't put anything together.
We also had
If our offense can put something together, I think holding Iowa State to 17 points isn't beyond the realm of ridiculous.
we also had a goal line stand.
He's predicting they're going to
Inside
score
the
more
3.
points than you, so I don't know how that's so crazy.
We had a goal line stand inside the 3, and we also had a fumble inside the 15 that kept it from not being 2 more touchdowns in Baylor's favor.
Well, they missed about 4.
And I know they do have to play the
Long
defense.
And we
up,
missed 2 field goals, and we missed a
But
PI.
you're talking about
and
the defense only gave up 24. It could have very easily been 38 is what I'm
Did you
saying.
see the Texas Tech team we played and what that team did to Iowa State last week? And how many points they scored?
Yeah.
I saw the Kansas team we played put up 3 against Oklahoma State.
It's not the same thing.
55
the
to 3.
TCU
Like,
team that put 31 points up on us, I think they had 1 touchdown against the starters or a field goal against Oklahoma State.
So, of all of these, though, directionally, you're the only one with a crazy score, Jay.
Well, I went with,
Because we
reverse
are
psychology.
favored.
I don't know what's crazy about him.
We are
picking us
favored.
losing by 3. That's
We are
not
favored.
crazy.
He's 7 points off. We're favored.
I'm hoping I'm completely wrong. I'm hoping we can do the next podcast and everyone laughs at me.
So,
That's kind of what I'm going with.
well, I don't think anyone's going to laugh at you the
I'll
way you
fucking
like to
laugh
laugh
at
at
Yeah,
people.
laugh.
Mark down
Mark
the
it
beep.
down.
Mark down the beep. I'm sorry.
So, you think that's the only one we've had?
I've
Now, this has
only
been a
counted.
very
I've only
explicit-
counted one other one. Yeah, midweek pods are not family friendly,
Yeah,
folks.
definitely not.
Keep your kids away.
Here's the deal. Here's my main thing. I couldn't even tell you the last time I actually picked us to lose a football game. I probably said we were going to lose to LSU. Probably even to some of the Bamas. But other than that, I really couldn't tell you when I really thought we would lose a football game.
And now you think we're
I
gonna
don't
lose
know
one.
that I really think we're going to lose this game because I just have a hard time putting that out there in the air. I feel like the negativity from my team can feel it. But Iowa State invented the slow down, drop 8, we're not going to let you move the football thing. And we haven't done that well against it. And with how we looked last week, I just don't see how it continues. I don't know where our points come from, other than Caleb has played a whole lot better at home. That's all I got.
I agree. I mean, points.
I don't know where we're going to go over points.
I'm banking on Caleb looking like he looked against Texas Tech. I'm banking on using
but
guys that we
Iowa
need to
State's
use.
like the 5th ranked defense in the country.
Good, if that's the case. Should
And
be
Oklahoma
getting some
State's better
kudos
than
for
that.
that for railing on them on Saturday.
But what's Oklahoma State ranked?
Third.
They're the third best.
They may
Yes.
be better after. They may be second after last week. They're
Yeah.
I
good,
mean,
dude.
Matt Campbell's 2-2
Baylor was the best
out of the
defense
last
we
4
came up
games against Lincoln Riley. I mean, I'm not going to say he's got his number, but he does know how to keep this offense down.
with. Baylor's not a
And-
great defense, but
and
they're the
those are-
best one we played all season.
and those
we
are-
saw how that turned out.
We lost in 17
17 and last year.
and 17 and 19.
No, we
No,
won.
17 and 20.
Yeah, 17,
Well, the 17 offense was one of the best of all time, and he beat us. And the 20 offense wasn't bad.
Yeah, they
He
weren't
beat
the
us.
best of all time.
So this will
in
be a
that
great
game, that's for
opportunity
sure.
to see if what we talked about earlier with Lincoln Riley taking a couple notes around people who have given him trouble in the past, like Aranda has done, and he didn't adjust to last week, and seeing if he can scheme up a game plan that's creative enough to go score points. Texas Tech put points up on this team. I'm not saying we're the same team. I'm not saying it's equivalent because it's not. It's very
They put
much
a
not.
lot of points up against
But
this team.
if Texas, I don't care who you are, you're putting that many points. It's showing that your defense is very much penetrable.
How many, I don't know, decent offenses has, above average offenses has either Iowa State or Oklahoma State played? Not any. I mean, any? I mean, there's got to be some above, I guess, above average, above median. But top 25?
No,
None.
No.
None.
not even close.
How many great defenses have we played?
Yeah, we haven't played
One. We played one, and we got beat.
Baylor's defense.
Kansas State's like
I
top
mean, they got
30.
lit up by TCU the week before.
Baylor's like
Kansas State's,
40.
yeah.
West Virginia's like in the mid 30s.
But
Nebraska,
playing
Nebraska was
horrible.
okay.
But my point is, those rankings don't mean a whole lot because it depends on who they're playing, right? And so it's hard to say just how good these defenses are, just how good these offenses are. I'm not debating or disputing that our offense leaves a lot to be desired.
I don't even care so much about
How many points should we
their
put up?
rankings as much as if you just do direct comparisons, just watching our football team, what we do against these other teams. I mean, it's significantly different than what Oak State's doing on defense. What we're doing on defense and what they're doing against common
Right, but we're
opponents.
talking about us putting points up, which would be our offense. And just on paper, with what we've got talent-wise, how many points should we be putting up on average in a game? 45 plus, right?
We still average like 42 points a game on the
Yeah.
season. We're
So,
still one of the top 5.
So yeah, you could be talking 50
Yeah, but
easily. Should be. So I don't think it's stretching credulity to say that we can put 35 points up by any stretch. That's 7 points below our average. If 42.
sure.
I don't know. No, I think that you could be right. You could be wrong, Jay, that we're going to lose by only 3. We could be-
So I don't even want to. Not that we thought that. I don't even know what you think the score against Oklahoma State's going to be.
I actually feel better about that game
Really?
than this one. This
Yeah, I'm
is this
definitely
is
not
the
the same
team.
way.
This is the team for the last couple of years that's given us the most trouble. I mean, you could say Kansas State has as well, but I mean, Matt Campbell and Iowa State do a very good job against us. They
Pretty good
literally
job.
invented the drop
Pretty
8.
good.
They came up with that scheme. I mean, I watched a whole episode on it.
dropping
The
8
3-3-5.
umbrella.
To combat the Big 12 offenses,
Mm-hmm.
and it's worked. And then other teams around the country have started doing the same thing because
and
it's
teams in
so
conference.
hard to consistently execute and work your way down the field without you messing up as an offense.
Right, especially if you're.
That's what
if
they
you're
want you
trying
to do.
that
It's
perfection
the
offense,
the ultimate bend but don't break defense. You're not going to mess up over 12 play, or we're going to make you make a mistake somewhere on a 12-play drive that either puts you way behind the chains or turns the ball over or does something. But you are not going to just hit 40-yard passes over our heads.
Yeah, that's true. Except Baylor was vulnerable to the vertical. We just couldn't connect with
Yeah, but
it.
Baylor doesn't play that style.
They
Baylor
didn't play the
attacks.
same. Yeah, I guess that's true.
Iowa State does the exact opposite.
I
Which
mean, West
Yeah,
West
but we
Virginia
were able to
plays-
attack in both games last year against Iowa State. We were able to attack them.
we didn't score in the second half in the Big 12 championship game.
Well, that was a lot about the decisions we made offensively.
But
More
we're going to
than
make
anything.
those decisions Saturday.
All right, maybe, maybe not. But my point was, we did attack them vertically, and we beat them vertically multiple times. Spencer Rattler almost won the game at Iowa State, going vertical against them at the end of the game. So it is possible to do it. It'll be interesting to see. To Connor's point, this is a chance for Lincoln Riley to show that he can actually coach against this style that has given him so much trouble.
What do you guys
We'll
think
see if he
Iowa
can
State's
do it.
defense is ranked?
I don't know.
What statistic we going off of?
I'm going off of
Prettiest,
total defense.
appearance.
Total defense? They're probably like 12, 11.
Okay. Lucas, guess?
I don't have any guesses.
49.
10. Because it matters, right? But, I mean, I
What are they in yards per play? Can you break? Does it have that on there?
Oh,
I bet they're
I'm glad you
really
said
high
that.
in yards per play because
how
they
much do you think? What is really high?
like ranked really well.
Okay. Yeah, they give up 5.06 yards per play.
So that's not too high. That's not too great. I don't
It's
think.
not too great.
That's probably like in
So,
the 40s.
and you mentioned that making you go down the field. Interestingly, what I think the Lincoln Riley offense is most successful against that style is when we are moving the ball through the run game and we're breaking off 4, 5, 6 yard runs at a consistent clip, if not more. Obviously, the run game is something that's been completely absent from, or nearly completely absent from our offensive scheme in this year. So that'll be something that'll
If
be a
you
challenge to
cannot
us.
run when they have 8 people dropping back or staying stationary with all set of eyeballs looking forward, if you can't run and make them move their linebackers and their safeties, there is 0 passing lanes. I mean, less than 0 passing lanes. So I mean, you have to be able to run the ball against Iowa State.
Yeah, well,
Which I didn't
Well, I
watch
don't
the Tech game. I don't know
understand-
what Tech did
And
last week.
I don't understand how we haven't been able to run the ball more effectively, other than that I continue to believe we're too complicated and we're trying to do too many things. And Gabe Eichert, thanks for pointing us to that podcast this week. He pointed out, I think, pretty blatantly how we're overcomplicated and crazy in some of the schemes we're trying to run.
Baylor stayed in 2 high safety the entire game and brought all kinds of pressure, and we still didn't bust any runs. And then, who else were we playing? Kansas State was in 3 high safety the whole game. We still couldn't run that very well. So was West Virginia.
Well, that-
I mean, they're not even loading
Yeah,
the box.
Rufus Alexander talked about that.
Of course, we had a different quarterback at Kansas State, but yeah, that was something that we noticed ourselves. I said, "Why aren't we running the ball better?" You got 3 down linemen. Yeah, Rufus he doesn't hold back with his opinions. They're pretty, and I think they're pretty spot on
I think so,
a lot of the
too.
time. Other
Someone needs to be
thoughts?
shouting.
Other thoughts, Lucas? You're being pretty quiet over here. You just stewing?
Yep.
Thinking about that Deb.
Just still coming off that loss and trying to
You're off the loss. It's done.
Just to
It's in the
see-
past.
That hurts.
just to see if we're going to pick up that second loss that I kind of thought we might have this season.
So
It'd be really disappointing if you're right about that.
yeah,
I agree.
That'll suck. That'll really
I do not want to be right about that.
be rough. In a way, you're just looking at the regular season, but we've got a decent chance of getting another loss for sure. With the way we've played, it's hard not to believe we have a good chance. When you look at this last game, again, it's like week in, week out. A very poor showing against Kansas, a very good showing against Texas Tech, a very bad showing against Baylor. Are we this yo-yoing on again, off again team?
That's one of my reservations
going
on my
on?
pick, to be honest with you. I mean, there's a chance that we come out and absolutely light it up,
Yeah.
only because the football gods want us to get our hopes up before we head to Stillwater. And just to get our hopes absolutely dashed.
Does this game factor into the tiebreaker scenario if on the point differential?
Well,
Or is it
what I
only
read this
between
week is
OSU,
point
Baylor?
differential that's a fiction. It won't apply this year. The Big 12 came out and said it won't apply.
Yeah, for whatever
So-
reason, the teams that have played or who's left,
It
it's not
can't
going to
matter.
It can't come down to that.
Because
So-
there's head-to-head
so Aranda was
matchups.
full
So
of ground.
Atlanta
Yeah.
made us wait 15 minutes for no reason.
Yeah, now in his defense, maybe he didn't know that, but I continue to be upset about the way that transpired, and for other reasons. That a friend pointed this out to me, that what Lincoln should have said was, we'll come back out as soon as 5,000 students are back up in,
In the stands, not on the sideline.
Get them off the sidelines. And
Show me that my
would have
players
been
aren't going to
good.
be in danger
Yeah.
when this clock runs
That
out.
that would have been a pretty good argument, and hopefully that never comes to that again. But that's
But they
what I
did
would
get
hope
that
they'd make.
huge $25,000 fine.
Oh, broke
Yeah,
the
oh
bank.
my gosh.
Broke the bank
Man,
at Baylor.
I don't know
Those
how they're
poor
gonna pay
guys,
that.
Man, that's so tough. You think they're gonna have to take out a loan? Yeah, that was pretty
Maybe
ridiculous.
Chip and Joanna will just pay it for him.
Yeah, right. A chump change. No, I think that he probably honestly believed that was something that was important. Now, he should have been kicking it from 15 yards further back.
Right.
But no, it sounds like it's not going to come into be a
Okay.
factor. Who do we want to play in the Big 12 title, assuming we get there? Let's close with that.
Baylor.
Yep.
You want Baylor.
Baylor
You
revenge
want Baylor.
game.
I want not Baylor. I'm going to say Oklahoma State still. I'm going to maintain I want to beat them twice and become the team that's beaten that team more than the other. Plus, I think we might match up better against Oklahoma State. I don't know. I'm a little concerned that Baylor has our number, Aranda has our number, but maybe not. Maybe that's a silly concern. Connor?
I think Oklahoma State, because if we play them in the Big 12 title, that means they will still only be a one-loss team
That helps
when
our
we go
case.
into Stillwater.
That's a good point.
It's a big game.
It's a good hope.
And then we turn right back around.
And get into the playoff.
And I still think
If it's not a top 10 matchup, it's very, very close the next week. And it only helps our case that much more.
Well, I
So,
don't know if they couldn't, why they wouldn't be, right?
I
If
definitely,
they're- if-
you would almost just swap the two, I feel
Yeah.
like. You would jump up wherever, around where OSU is, and OSU should fall back around
Well,
where
I-
OSU is.
Well, and they'll be
highest
higher
we'll
than-
go would be 10.
But they'll be higher than that.
No, us.
No, well, but Oklahoma State we'll be beating a team that's like sixth in the country.
I meant when we play them. I mean the matchup itself. Like if we beat Iowa State and they beat Tech, I think there's a chance next week
Like a 6-10
they
matchup.
bump us above a 2-loss Ole Miss.
Right.
And maybe a
Yeah.
2-loss
So I think we
Baylor.
might be a 6-8 matchup in that case.
Unless, I don't know, unless
If
Baylor-
Oregon loses,
You've got a lot of teams that can lose. Oregon's
Right.
supposed to lose.
a couple teams are going to lose.
Ohio State or Michigan State
Michigan
is going
State
to lose.
probably going to lose.
Wake Forest very likely to lose.
There's no way we fall behind 2-loss Ohio State. Though.
Right. No, you don't think so?
No, we're behind 2-loss Baylor. And 2-loss Ole Miss.
Yeah, but Baylor actually beat us.
Even if we're not behind, even if we don't jump in front of the 2-loss Ohio State, it doesn't matter because
Yeah, it
if we
doesn't
win
matter.
the next week,
Yeah, no, it'll be a
we'll
big
accelerate about.
I definitely
So I
think
think
we
you're
make
right.
the
I think the
playoff.
next
I think we
two
could make
would
the playoff.
the next two would be really big against Oklahoma State because even if they're sixth and we beat them, then they're not going to fall below ninth or something, and so it's still a top 10 matchup.
I still think we just look at it too, I don't know, close-minded because
Which part?
the playoffs. I don't think they respect the Big 12. I don't think they respect OU.
yeah, we're
I don't
looking
think
we're
they're
looking at
grading-
it. We're looking at it logically.
Yeah, I don't think they're grading it on the scale that we think they're grading it on.
Our SOS, if we win these next 3 games, is up around where the top 5 teams in the
we
country
don't
are
have a
at.
chance of getting into the playoffs.
So there's
right.
a guy
Forgot.
that does all the numbers right before
Yeah.
the playoff show, and I direct messaged him, and I'm like, well, what's the difference between Oklahoma State and Ohio State? Because so he sends me the numbers back. They have the same amount of top 25 wins. They have the same amount of quality wins. Oklahoma State's strength of schedule is like 40 spots higher
Stronger,
than
yeah,
Ohio
much
State.
stronger.
And he says, but they have better game control, and that's a big deal.
What the hell does that mean?
Exactly. Well, how long you're in the lead for in your games.
Oh, God.
And I'm thinking to myself, is this really what we're going to start going
What
off
a
of?
hair-splitting
Yeah.
thing. That's ridiculous.
Same schedule.
If you,
You've played a
if you
tough-
took the kickoff first, you have a chance of leading the game longer.
No,
Like,
wait, that-
seriously.
Good.
Not only
point.
that, but how about I have a tougher schedule, so maybe it's harder for me to control all
Right.
my games.
Exactly.
Because you're
Yeah.
playing a weaker schedule.
boy.
Good for you that you've stayed in the lead against Purdue and Indiana while I stayed in the lead
Yeah, I
against
hate to
Baylor
come
and
to
Kansas
Oklahoma
State.
State's
Right.
Or whatever.
defense, but absolutely.
I know,
they-
same thing. I wasn't
Yeah.
trying
Yeah.
to defend Oklahoma State because I can't stand them.
But-
I'm looking at the rankings. I'm like,
In all
Ohio
honesty, if
State's
it's
just
not the
ingrained.
logo,
They're
exactly.
ingrained at 4, and Oklahoma
logo.
State's back here at 9.
it's
Yeah.
the logo.
It's a logo.
They don't have a logo on their helmet.
And we
It's a
have
sticker.
a logo.
It's a sticker.
It's 40 stickers for
And we
showing
have
up for
one,
going to class.
And we have one, and they're tired of looking at it, and they don't want us to.
I think you're right, but I think we're still going to get there. If we do what we would have to do and run the table, we're going to be there. Now, it may mean we're going to have some style points to do it.
There's
But if-
obviously other things
But
that have
if
to happen.
we win 3 games, I don't know how much more has to happen.
That's not a lot.
We win 3
It's not a
games,
lot,
and it kind of
but other stuff has to happen.
naturally happens.
Cincinnati needs to get beat this week.
Probably Cincinnati has to get beat.
Oregon needs to get beat.
Yeah, I mean, you might have 2 teams that have to get beat who are likely to get beat. So I don't think a lot has to happen.
Alabama's going to get beat
12-1.
at least one time.
Alabama loses by 3 to Georgia.
Dude, if they do that, their credibility is already shot, and I don't even want to hash it out because it's so stupid. Like, no,
Yeah,
no.
no. If they
Bama should
that
not
would
be
be
in.
awful. That would be
I
ridiculous.
mean, Georgia's unanimous the best team in the country.
They only beat Clemson by what, 6?
Yeah.
Something
You
like
lose
that.
by 3, though. But I mean, if you play Georgia and you lose by 3, you're number 2. It's number 1 versus 2 in the SEC championship game, and you lose by 3 points. You're just like, you're not plowed.
But at that
But-
point, you
but-
literally are not taking any form of
Yeah.
winning into consideration.
They already don't.
I'm just saying.
So you got
then you
2.
can't
But you're thinking logically.
Yeah,
They
so you're
don't.
saying 2 different things because it sounds like it's at some point you're defending it, but you're not defending that
He's just
that logic.
bringing
Yeah.
their point of
You're
view.
just
to the
trying
table.
to get their
Absolutely.
point of view, and
you
I would
couldn't
say
drop Bama to 4 because then that's a rematch. So if they lost that game and somehow a bunch of other stuff happened around them, they couldn't move them,
Ohio State will be 2, and
It'd be-
Cincinnati will be 4.
and then you put it out on 3.
I think even with this committee, now obviously I believe that Alabama shouldn't even be ranked as high as they are, but if you just land Bama where they are, we get them to the end of the season playing Georgia, and it's 1 versus 2, and they beat them, I think the committee has a good chance of putting them out of the top 4, depending on who else is there. I
It
think
is
they would
interesting
look
that
to
they're
it and do
still
it.
stuck at number 2, or
It's
not
weird.
stuck, but up at number 2.
It's weird.
I mean, at number 25, they put in 6-4 Mississippi State just to help Alabama's resume a little bit.
Kansas State's not in the top 25.
A&M's a 3-loss team. They're barely behind us.
Yeah,
No, that's insane.
So Alabama keeps
they're helping out the
their
strength of
winners
schedules.
keep coming up.
Yeah.
Ole
It
Miss,
is-
Ole
it
Miss
is
is above
weird.
us.
It is
right?
weird.
2-loss Ole Miss is ahead of us.
I don't think there's a conspiracy there. I think that there's bias, and I think there's some statistical bias in
Arkansas.
the formulas they've chosen, or the metrics they've chosen.
The metrics is what it is.
Yeah.
The measuring sticks.
They
that
don't.
they're
I don't think
using.
they intentionally said, "Let's find metrics that are going to win it for these teams," but it has ended up that way.
There's not enough non-conference play between Power 5 schools to adjust that metric either.
Mm-hmm.
So
So you have a 7-3 Arkansas that's ranked, and you have a 6-4 Mississippi State. Where's 7-3 Kansas State?
Yeah.
I mean, look at Arkansas. Their quality wins originally was Texas, which is nothing now, and what
A&M.
A&M. Who else have they beat? No
That's
one.
it.
Yeah. So I mean, it's all very skewed.
Yeah, it continues to look
Anyways, we can
foolish.
bitch about it all we want. It's not going to change.
No, actually, they were gonna listen
Oh,
to the
they're-
podcast.
this is
Yeah.
a committee. Oh,
Yeah.
we're submitting this committee.
Yeah, we're gonna submit this in, and
Definitely
we're gonna
beat
get some
out
changes.
those, a couple things.
But yeah, I just
Got some
think
virgin ears in there.
we all want to look at it too logically. This team loses, so this team moves up, and so forth. I don't think they do that at all.
What do you think they do?
I mean, just because 7 loses doesn't mean 8 and 9 move up to 7 and 8. I just don't
I
think
think
that's
it'll
how
start
they work.
working out that way. I think it'll start working out that way.
It should start taking care of itself.
I think it will. I actually think it will.
Here's the optimism.
We'll see. Here's the optimism. We'll see. Let's beat Iowa State, and let's be back on Saturday night. We're going to have some. We may have a full host of folks. Chad may be joining
legit
us.
live audience,
We
yeah.
may have a guest on the pod from who does his own podcast. Jacob. He may be joining us.
I hope I'm
So we'll be
terribly
pretty
wrong,
good.
by the way.
We know you. We know where
Yeah.
your heart is.
We always will be
Absolutely.
wrong.
Yeah. So until next time, Boomer Sooner.
Boomer Sooner.
Remember sooner.